Conquered the worlds of New York City real estate and Atlantic City casinos. What do you do for an encore?
Tell me, if you look ahead, what would excite you? The fantasy.
The fantasy of what excites me really is what I'm doing right now.
Okay, but come on, the next step. You can't just keep building and building in New York. You own almost everything.
The prize fighters have an expression. You've got to go with the punches. And that's what I want to do. I don't want to predict where I'm going to be or what I'm going to be doing. I go with the punches. I sort of feel my way around. It's a minefield out there.
No matter what Donald Trump does these days, it seems to make news. He's been on the cover of numerous magazines and is repeatedly interviewed in a wide variety of subjects that have nothing to do with real estate. In September, Trump paid $95,000 for full-page ads in the New York Times, the Washington Post, and the Boston Globe to openly criticize U.S. protection of foreign shipping in the Persian Gulf.
We should get the money from the Allies, and we made a huge mistake by going into the Persian Gulf without having negotiated a fair and reasonable deal
Before.
with all of the beneficiaries of the Persian Gulf. I would have said, hey, folks, let's get together. How much are you going to pay for this? And you know what? Give you a little secret, Barbara. They'll pay a ransom.
In October, Trump was asked to speak to the Portsmouth, New Hampshire Rotary Club. A group of conservative Republicans had formed a draft Donald Trump for President committee. And when Trump arrived, he looked very much the candidate, posing for the cameras and pressing the flesh. It was a full house. Trump had attracted over 900 people, more than 3 times the audience that turned out for Senator Robert Dole. Michael Dunbar had organized the Trump for President movement in New Hampshire, and we wondered why he thought Donald Trump would make a good candidate.
Myself and other economic conservatives have been preaching to the country for the last 8 years the virtue of entrepreneurs and entrepreneurship. And I felt that if we've been truthful with ourselves and with the American people, then it's also time that an entrepreneur led the country.
But does Donald Trump want to be president?
I'm not here today because I'm running for the presidency. I'm here because I'm personally tired of seeing this great country of ours being ripped off.
But as far as Trump is concerned, our allies are only part of the problem. The real culprit is Iran.
Why couldn't we go in and take over some of their oil, which is along the sea?
How would you do that? Would you send in the Marines? Would you take a chance in a war?
Let them have Iran. You take their oil. That's what I do.
How?
How?
I mean, do we want a war? What do you mean we
in,
take their oil?
You go in. You're
How
gonna have
do
a
we
war,
go
Barbara.
in?
You're going to have a war by being weak.
Okay, how do we go in? What do we do?
Excuse me.
Yeah?
You're going to have a war, and it's going to start in the Middle East.
What if the Soviet Union said, you do this to Iran, we're going to come in?
I don't believe they'd do it. The next time Iran attacks this country, go in and grab one of their big oil installations, and I mean grab it and keep it, and get back your losses, because this country has lost plenty because of Iran.
Donald Trump seems to have the Clint Eastwood approach to foreign policy.
Charles Bremner is the New York correspondent for the London Times. He wrote this article that appeared in the Times the week following Trump's New Hampshire speech.
He recommended strikes at Iranian oil fields. This obviously would create a great chain reaction across the area if it ever took place. And obviously European allies would be appalled by any such behavior.
During a question and answer period, Trump was asked about the current group of presidential hopefuls. Although he declined to endorse any one candidate, he particularly criticized Congresswoman Patricia Schroeder, who had dropped out of the race.
I mean, I saw somebody, and it doesn't make any difference who, but I saw somebody in tears not so long ago who hadn't lost anything. A potential candidate. We need strength. I mean, you think Gorbachev is tough. Think of this character, Khomeini. I mean, this son of a bitch is something like nobody's ever seen.
After the luncheon, Trump met with the local press, who were anxious to question him about his political plans. Although he is currently registered as a Republican, his family has a long history of financial support for Democratic candidates in New York. That may explain why in November, Trump was asked to be the host and speaker at a fundraising dinner for Democratic congressional candidates. Trump declined the invitation and insists he has no plans to run for anything.
Mrs. Trump, deep down, do you think that your husband would like to be president?
I don't think for now, at least not in the near future. He's going to be doing the same for another 10 years. He's going to be only 51-year-old man. And how many tall buildings you can build, and how many of the casinos you can own. And he's going to definitely look for something or some other business or another things for him to do.
You don't want to be president, you say. People are talking about young Donald Trump for president. You say no, not now, right?
That's correct.
Okay. Your wife says maybe in 10 years.
Oh, I'm glad she speaks for me. I mean,
What do you think?
I'll have to consult with my wife.
If you could be appointed president and didn't have to run, would you like to be president?
Well, wouldn't that be an interesting concept? I mean, wouldn't that be nice if you didn't have to run? I mean, I think a lot of people would like that.
Would you?
Would I like it?
Yeah.
I don't know, interestingly. You know, part of the enjoyment of something and part of the whole thing is the battle. If you could be appointed, I'm not sure that would be the same
Wouldn't be
ballgame.
the fun for you.
The seeking, it's the quest that really I believe, it's the hunt that I believe that I love.
The hunt that he loves, he tells it like it is.
He does.
What do you think of him?
Well, I've found in talking to him that he wastes no time on small talk, and he has no false modesty. He reminds me of something that Frank Lloyd Wright, the great architect, said to me one time. He said, years ago I had to choose between honest arrogance and hypocritical humility, and I chose honest arrogance. And maybe it's not too harsh to say Donald did that.
You know what else, Hugh? He teases himself. He is aware of how he gets his way. We were at the same luncheon this week that was given by the State Department for General Secretary Gorbachev, and I saw Trump there, and you know, if let's say that I'm Gorbachev, in order to say hello, you've got your back to the cameras, which are out here. He said, you know what I did? I maneuvered Gorbachev around so that we were standing side by side. And the result is this UPI picture, which was on the front page of some of the newspapers. And there is Donald Trump telling Gorbachev what to do. And you see his face.
He's a fascinating guy.